Beloved members of a popular reality TV show who have tragically passed away.
Do you still remember Pawn Stars? One of the most popular TV series that changed the narrative or perhaps restructured how you view reality shows? Have you ever wondered what happened to cast members who took a break and never returned to your screen? Think no more. Brace up and let's go on a ride as we reveal the mysteries surrounding Pawn Stars members that will leave you speechless. Richard "Old Man" Harrison. Richard Harrison, known as the Old Man, was one of the most beloved members of Pawn Stars. He had a serious face and a calm voice. Richard just gave the right advice to keep things in order. In the earlier days, he worked hard to grow the family business and wanted the shop to be strong and honest towards the customer moving forward. Every time he gave them advice or said no, he was really trying to help them. In 2018, Richard passed away at 77 years old. The news left fans heartbroken. But even after his death, the shop went on and the show kept going. But something felt different altogether, and when the viewers started watching the old episode of him today. Mark Hall Patton. Mark Hall Patton was the historian with a big white beard, red glasses, and a voice filled with knowledge. Fans often referred to him as the Beard of Knowledge. On Pawn Stars, whenever someone brought in an old document or an antique with a long history behind it, Rick would immediately call in Mark. Mark wasn't just a guest on the show, he was a real museum expert. He ran museums in Las Vegas and knew more about history than most people around. He always made old things feel important. Mark wasn't funny or dramatic. Instead, he just loved sharing facts regarding those vintage items. Whether it was a Civil War letter or a rare old book, he looked at each one like it had a story to tell. But Mark's time on the show came to an end in a very unexpected way. In 2024, Mark Hall Patton had passed away due to a stroke. Many fans and collectors across the country shared their tributes. After his passing, the Las Vegas Museum honored him for his contributions. Fans remembered the way he could turn an old paper into a history lesson. But every time someone pulls a dusty book off a shelf or finds a handwritten letter in a box, it's time to call Mark to know more about it. Corey Harrison. Corey Harrison, also known as Big Hoss, brought a young energy to the shop. He grew up in the pawn shop, watching the business closer each day. To most fans, he's always arguing with his dad, but he was actually day. He worked hard on making big deals and even pushed to use new technology in the shop. In 2014, Corey was faced with a brutal motorcycle accident. He was severely hurt, and recovery was a slow process. In the same year, he got divorced care of himself. He still works in the shop, but the once funny and loving person was now transformed through pain. Rick Harrison. Rick Shop. He was the son of Richard "Old Man" Harrison and the father of Corey. All the three generations worked together and Rick stood in the middle. With his fast talk and deep knowledge of history, he was the one you saw the most. Rick made those deals and asked tough questions to keep the show moving, that people trusted, and also showcasing how history and hard work come together, but things don't always go according to the plan. After his father passed away, Rick felt the weight expected. His mother filed a lawsuit against him over the family's estate. It raised questions about trust within the family. Rick had to deal with his grief. It starts to fall apart. Rick Dale. Rick Dale was the go-to guy when something old and broken needed new life. Rick owned the shop called Rick's Restorations, and on Pawn Stars, he was known as the Restorer. Rick was a skilled craftsman. He could take a rusty gas pump or a beat-up Coca-Cola machine and turn it into something beautiful. He was always patient and full of energy. Every time the pawn shop needed a repair, Rick would roll up in his truck, load the item, and bring it back with a whole different look. Rick's love for restoring old things made the viewers believe that history could be saved and not just studied. If something had value once, it could have value again. His business and family blended together. His wife and kids would help him at the shop, and it became more than just work. It was a way of life. But after several seasons of being a favorite on Pawn Stars and even getting his own spin-off show, American Restoration, Rick suddenly disappeared. So fans were left with questions. But Rick continued working in his shop, but without the cameras. The show changed, and fans missed the joy of watching him bring old things back to life. Chumlee. Chumlee, the most loved character of Pawn Stars, whose real name is Austin Russell, started working in the pawn shop long before the show began. He had been friends with Corey since they were kids. Fans loved how he didn't pretend to know everything. He asked the questions most of us would ask. But in 2016, everything changed. Chumlee was arrested after the police searched his home and found harmful substances and weapons. It was a shocking situation, and many thought his return to the show would be impossible. Chumlee faced the consequences and worked hard to stay out of trouble. Eventually, he looked at his life and made a decision to change. He began eating healthier, working out, and lost over 100 pounds of excessive weight. He reflected on the process of being better for himself and for the people who still believed in him. Interestingly, Chumlee returned with his own candy shop in Las Vegas. Chumlee's story reminds us that everyone makes these mistakes, but what truly matters is what you do next. He could have let shame take over, but instead, he chose to grow. But while Chumlee found a new rhythm to life, another Pawn Stars favorite had his own reasons for pulling back. Steve Grad. Steve Grad worked as an autograph expert. He could look at a signature and tell you if it was real or fake just by noticing small details. His job was to protect the shop from getting tricked and losing money. But over time, Steve began appearing less on the show. Eventually, he stopped showing up altogether, due to a behind-the-scene conflict with the pawn shop. Fans noticed how much value he added to the show. His way of explaining things made complicated items easier to understand. He didn't try to be the center of attention. He let the facts speak for themselves. Steve Grad reminded us that even the smallest signature could carry a big story. Rebecca Romney. Rebecca was the rare book expert on the show. When someone brought in an old Bible, a first edition, or a dusty novel with strange markings, Rick looked up to Rebecca. She always arrived calm and collected, and ready to unveil the story behind the book. But after a few seasons, her visits became less frequent. She chose to step away from the show entirely. Rebecca's time on Pawn Stars may have been limited, but it showcased that knowledge could be powerful. She made reading feel like treasure hunting, and she reminded us that sometimes the most valuable things aren't gold or silver, but the true stories hidden in those books. Brett Mailey. Brett Mailey was the art expert. He worked at an art gallery and knew how to spot value in every frame. He helped people understand what made a painting special, not just how much it costs, but why it mattered. He wanted viewers to realize that art wasn't just for rich people or museums. But over time, Brett's visits became rare. Fans who appreciated his calm energy were left wondering. However, Brett brought balance to the show. And even though he didn't have a long goodbye, his presence made viewers feel calm and more curious. In the end, Brett didn't just appraise art, he showed us how to appreciate it. And speaking of leaving, there was one more cast member whose exit was just as sudden. Olivia Black. Olivia Black joined the cast in Season 5. She worked behind the counter guiding customers and learning the process. Olivia wanted to grow within the pawn shop. She was excited to be part of the show. It gave her a chance to prove herself. But not long after she started, news about her modeling career had been revealed. It wasn't a secret, but it didn't really fit the image of the show. Olivia disappeared from Pawn Stars and also expressed her grief due to the sudden exit. But instead of giving up, she chose to move forward and continue modeling. Her story reminds us that being different doesn't mean you don't belong. In a shop full of history, Olivia became part of it too, and sometimes the hardest part of a story is the part that's never told on screen. Olivia's story is one of those. Over the years, Pawn Stars has brought all kinds of people through its doors, but each of them left something behind. And maybe that's what makes Pawn Stars more than just a show about old things. It's a show about people. Which Pawn Stars member did you like the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Click the next video on screen now for another interesting story.